Welcome to the Board Game Spotlight Podcast. Get ready for an entire hour of gaming goodness, brought to you by our incredible sponsors: IV Studios, Fireside Games, Van Ryder Games, Renegade Game Studios, Mythic Games, This Little Bean of Mine, Game Toppers LLC, Kick Track, Arcane Wonders, AEG, Draw Lab Entertainment, and of course, our amazing Patreon supporters. This podcast would not be possible without you. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Lizzy Funkhauser.
Oh, hey, are we doing video too?
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Board Game Spotlight Podcast. I'm Derek.
I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Ruel.
And this is our first episode as a video cast as well. So Ruel had talked to me at PAX Unplugged about some really great opportunities for extra content that he had gotten from Rado. And one of those was, if you're recording a podcast and you're already going to do a podcast, go ahead and record that video and release that on your YouTube channel, right?
Yep. And so it's two pieces of content for one effort. You know, it's all about being efficient and, you know, creating something because, you know, some people like to watch, you know, when they can, and other people, they'll download it and listen to it when they can as well. So why not offer it on more platforms so people can choose which platform they'd like to consume the content on?
I like it. So we're here to just do a PAX Unplugged recap. We're going to talk about PAX Unplugged, about Philly, the games we played, the people we played games with, the food we ate. Ruel, you had a chance to tour Philadelphia, which is awesome. Of the times I've been to PAX Unplugged, Lizzy and I both haven't really toured the city other than going to eat.
Well, I've been to Philly before with my family, like way before you, Derek. So I've been to the city.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I have not. So we're just going to chat about that. Lizzy, unfortunately, was not at PAX Unplugged this year, but I brought home games and she's already played quite a few of them. So it'll be fun to hear what she thinks about those. So, Ruel, I really would love to know what you thought about the city of Philadelphia from your touring, like what you did, right?
Yeah. So I loved it. Spoiler alert, it's just such a cool city. And, you know, I want to kick this thing off by thanking you, Derek and Lizzy, and the Board Game Spotlight and Wise Wizard for bringing me out to Philly, because without you all, I would not have made it. Honestly, I have, you know, gone through, I planned on going to PAX, but then, you know, I had housing issues, plumbing issues. I was out of the house for nearly 3 months living in Airbnb as they did all this plumbing and, you know, restoration. And, you know, every penny counts these days. But thankfully, thanks to your generosity, I was able to make it out there. So thank you all for bringing me out there. I had the best time. In Philly, folks, it really is a city of brotherly love in the fact that I love to eat and I felt like I was home. You know, so many great places to eat. I did get to tour. Now, I've been to Philly before, just briefly, many years ago with a friend of mine. We drove the East Coast to go see another friend who was graduating from the University of Vermont. And Philly, you know, I did the cheesesteaks back in the day, but this time I felt like I needed to see some more of the city. So I was there a day early and I went to go take a tour of Independence Hall, and I got to see the Liberty Bell. And boy, just to see the history. I mean, it's really cool there's so much history there. That is where this country was founded. And to go to Independence Hall, it was not weird, but just very surreal that I was in the room where the founding fathers were hammering out the Declaration of Independence, knowing that they were in that room. And it's small. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like packed them like sardines. And I don't know if we were just like bigger people now than they were a couple of hundred years ago, but there was like 50, 60 people in there. It's like this is like a phone booth almost. So seeing that was really interesting. Now, most of the stuff, according to the great tour guide, most of it's like restored or just, you know, replicas of what they had, except for one piece of furniture. It was the chair where the head of the session would sit, and George Washington sat on that chair to preside over some of these things. So that was really, really cool to see. Liberty Bell, same thing. It was a lot smaller than I thought, but it's like right tiny. There. Yeah, it's tiny, right? I expected it to be like a room sized, you know, but it was like this. Yeah. It was like a dinner. Not like a dinner bell, but yeah.
It's not much bigger than that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's fascinating.
Again,
I've never seen it. So.
Yeah, another really cool historical artifact to see. They have a nice little tour that you take, and you can see the crack and everything. And there's always a guide sitting there so you could ask questions. So that was my first day at PAX. I loved it. I just sort of got away by myself, and it was nice after, traveling all day. I, got to bed late and then woke up early in the morning. And the first thing I did, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, so it gets cold in California. It doesn't get Philadelphia cold in California. Oh my face just froze the second I went outside. I was like, okay, this is real cold. I'm not in California anymore. So it was a wake up call, but just a tour that was like a great way to start PAX. When did you get in, Derek? Did you get in on Wednesday?
Wednesday afternoon, yeah. I was actually really surprised at the weather in Philadelphia. It rained more than I was expecting. And on that first day when I arrived, I got into the hotel and I changed real quick. And I started walking over to the convention floor to start setup or to help. They'd already started that morning. And I got soaked. It just drenched on me, and I was like, "This is unbelievable." I should have taken an Uber. So I'm wet. I'm soaked. My hoodie's soaked. That's the only thing I brought to keep me warm was my hoodie.
I told him to bring a coat, and he's like, "I don't need a coat. It's fine."
So
he
my
never
stupidity
checks the weather
of not checking the weather and not talking to Lizzy and saying like, "Yeah, I should bring a coat." So that cost me
a brand new coat.
It cost me $85 because I bought a PAX coat while I was there. So I got one of those bomber coats, and it's cool. I really like it. It's super comfortable. Nice. But I was like, I can't walk outside without having a coat on. It wasn't as cold as it was back in 2019, but it was still pretty chilly a few of those nights. 2019 was like 20, 30 degrees.
It was December, so it was like snowing, and there was like snowstorms and stuff. So it was very cold.
Yeah, this has kind of been a weird winter.
Wow. Yeah, I was wondering if there'd be snow. I mean, I did check the weather report. I saw the rain. I was like, oh, I wonder if it's going to be snow too. So I sort of wanted to see snow, but at the same time, I didn't want to get snowed in, a flight home or anything like that. One thing that was, everyone had told me about this, and you had told me about this as well, both of you actually, the Reading Terminal Market, like that. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the location. Like it's literally, folks, right across the street from the convention center. And also the hotel we sat at was very close as well. So that was just perfect. Everything was so close and accessible. And I could have stayed at that market the entire day. It was just so many cool places to check out to eat, yeah.
You could spend a couple weeks in the Reading terminal and probably not hit every store. Cause I think there's like at least 30 different little places to eat in there with like there's so much stuff in there. Denix is one of my favorites. Go to Denix. It's so good. Then you've got the place that sells the pretzel hot dogs. Those are delicious.
I missed that.
Man, those are so good.
There's donuts in the morning.
Donuts if you get there early enough.
Too. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Gotta get up early enough. Well, while we're on food, I mean, we can chat about food because Reading Terminal, in my opinion, beats North Market at Origins. North Market is awesome, but Reading is my favorite. But
I
Philadelphia, is it because of bubble tea? Bubble tea, maybe? Or no?
Bubble tea. I just like the food at North Market. I mean, like the food at Reading is great, but I don't know. I just like North Market better.
That's fair. One of the things we had a friend of ours who helped demo, Bob Crow and Isaac Villa. They were with us, and Bob is originally from Philadelphia, so he's like, "Yo, we're gonna go here and then here and then here." So it was kind of like our own little personal tour guide, which was great.
I love that.
So we occasionally fed him with like Wawa diet iced teas for helping us out so much. Here's a little something for you. But so he took us to a place called Cleaver's, which was incredible. Such a great Philly cheesesteak. Nice. And then there's a place called Alice's Pizza that's super good. There's just so many different good restaurants around the area.
Yeah, I was really happy to meet Bob and Isaac. They're super cool. I met them at the booth, and you sort of as any booth, you bond a little bit, and they're just super cool, really nice guys. And I didn't know Bob was from Philly, so that's always the best is have the local knowledge or whatever. Denix, I had the roast pork, and it's just, yes. It's funny because Michelle couldn't join me this time, so I would send her pictures as I'm going through the Reading Terminal Market. I was like, this roast pork sandwich is awesome. I'm going to eat half of it and save half for later. 10 minutes later, it was all gone. I was like, there's no way I'm going to save this. It's too good to go.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Bob picked up this. I don't know where he went. So he arrived because he lives in Georgia now. They drove up to Philly like a few days before for like the holiday, and he picked up Isaac from that airport. And he went someplace and got these pretzels, and he got a box of like an absurd
He
amount
had
of
like
pretzels.
20 of them or something. I
And,
saw a
and they're
picture.
Oh my gosh.
huge. They're huge. Oh my goodness. Those pretzels were amazing. They were so good. So next year I have to figure out where he got those from, because
Yes.
I will go the night before. I will put them in my backpack and I will eat them in the airport terminal before I fly, because they are so good.
No. You know, what
I'll
is
throw them
what?
in my checked butt luggage.
Yeah. What is it about? I don't know if it's just something in the water in the East Coast or whatever, but you know, bagels, pizzas, pretzels, like they're just better out there. Is it the water or the air or something?
I know something about the bagels because I
Okay.
was watching a TikTok and it was a Jewish baker, and Jewish bagels originated because of like anti-Semitic laws or whatever, but they have to have malt in them. And so a lot of non-Jewish people, when they
Oh.
make bagels, they just make bread in a circle. And that's not
Yeah.
the Jewish way. The Jewish add malt into it. And they also like boil the bagels. There was like a whole like history. I won't get into it, but
Mhm.
they need malt to be actual
Okay.
authentic bagels.
Okay. So maybe that's the magic.
That's why. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, you're right. Their bread out there is just incredible. It
Yeah.
tastes so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, food out there is great. If you've never been to Philadelphia, if you haven't been to PAX Unplugged, highly recommend it. Overall,
Yes.
like when I look at kind of just like the convention circuit in the United States, PAX Unplugged falls at the end of the year, so it's the last show. Typically, it's great because it falls after Essen, so some publishers can bring stuff over, and you get like that's what happened. Like DeVere was there, and they brought some stuff from Essen, like they had released like Mil Fiore last year, and I think they localized it here. And then they had Lacrimosa and a bunch of other things. But PAX Unplugged is my favorite show. It's my favorite convention. And I don't know what, it's kind of a big culmination of things: the venue, the area, the food. PAX puts on such a great show in terms of security, organization, plenty of space to do things. I mean,
The
it's just
setup too, because every booth is a corner.
Yep.
So a lot of
Yeah.
publishers like
Yeah.
absolutely
Right. Yeah.
love
Right.
that. The enforcers, the PAX enforcers are like unmatched. They're amazing. Every year,
Yeah.
they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, this you're right. You know, I had mentioned earlier, this is the city of brotherly love, and I felt like that during the show. And so I had missed last year because literally the day of my flight, I got sick. Unfortunately, I had to pass. So I was really looking forward to this, and it lived up to all the hype. It really was. You know, I don't know if it's the vibe or whatever, because it is the last major show of the year, and just people just seem friendlier, and maybe it's just less pressure, I guess. I don't know, but the entire weekend was wonderful. People were like so cool. And you know, I like the fact that it was really simple. Like, you had to be vaccinated, you had to have a mask. Boom. There's no like special areas where you had to do this or that.
Right,
If you want to get in, there it is. And I thought just that made it simpler for everyone to understand. And you know, going around, everyone had their masks on, and it felt safe, and the enforcers were really good about, you know, keeping things in order. And I will say one thing that was sort of tough on me was the convention floor. I mean, it's like concrete, and walking around that after a couple of days, it sort of took a toll on my body physically.
Oh yeah.
It does. Absolutely.
Even just standing at the booth, even if you have a mat, it's not enough.
Right.
It's
right.
tough.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like where we were, so Wise Wizard Games, when you look at the area of the exhibit hall, you've got the events hall, and you've got this huge desert exiled landscape of just free play. And then you have all the exhibit hall. And so Wise Wizard was literally on the exact opposite of the hall. So exhibit and then Wise Wizard. And that's a long walk. I think I put in 20,000 steps every day,
Wow.
just between like demoing and walking from the convention center to the hotel, and then from exhibit hall down to our booth, and just, you know, vice versa. I mean, it was just, put in a lot of steps.
That's I've heard the same story from plenty of people, and I mean, it's great if you want to get your steps in, but it can take a toll, you know, the concrete or whatever. But other than that, I mean, that's probably my only ding on the convention itself. I mean, there was some there was some confusion as to where some of the events were. I felt like the signage wasn't always right, or just, you know, there's a couple of events I went to, I just ended up following the crowd. And it's like, hey, are you going there? Yeah, I am. But because I couldn't find the signs. So
gotcha.
maybe that could be a little better. But aside from that, besides those two minor things, I mean, the show was wonderful. The venue, the, accessibility to the food, which is, so important to me because I've, you all done conventions for a while. You can only eat so many concession hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I shudder
They're
not
thinking
good.
about that. Yeah. So the fact that I could just run across to a terminal market, that's usually crowded, but it wasn't too bad, and get like decent food. That's a huge
typically
thing.
At both Origins and PAX Unplugged, I just try to get on a different eating schedule. So I try to eat either early in the morning or later in the afternoon because most people go during lunchtime, which makes sense. So I just change the hours that I eat, and that helps a little bit. But you're right, like a place like Reading Terminal and North Market are kind of just always going to be busy with people because they're so popular. But the proximity of everything at PAX Unplugged is one of the reasons why I think the show is just awesome. There's so much stuff right there within what you need, and their open gaming is open till midnight. That was one thing I heard some people were not. Now PAX has always been that way, and I understand. I mean, it makes sense to like have a shutdown, but I think Gen Con was open all night. I think there were places at Gen Con where you could game all night long. And so in that regard, I think Gen Con kind of has the, that's a pro for Gen Con, is that you can just kind of game as late as you want to. But again, there's also hotels and stuff. There's places you can go find a game and stuff around the city. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about saying how the gaming shut down at midnight, and Gen Con is the biggest one in North America, so that city really has embraced Gen Con. Because you see, I mean, you get off your flight, go to the hotel. I mean, the airport's got tables set out, and a lot of the hotels have really embraced that as well. And the hotels that I visited this trip in Philly, they didn't have the tables set up and stuff. And I think that could be something improved in future years. Because I know, like, for me at the Meridian, where we stayed, that one lobby area, there was a couple of tables. It was like very small and it's tough to, play games there. But if they just threw a couple of, folding tables out there, it'd be great to play at the hotel.
Yeah, that's been my experience. PAX Unplugged, the city doesn't really get in on Philadelphia, doesn't get, involved like Gen Con or, so. Or even Origins
is also like relatively new. It's only been like 5 years?
Yeah, it is new.
Gen Con has been like decades. So I mean,
true.
They've had a long time to get used to it. I bet like in the first 5 years, Indianapolis was not as welcoming.
It's true.
That's
right.
Fair. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. So hopefully, as time goes on, they'll really embrace what they have here because it's great. And I know Gen Con, like the indie residents, they love Gen Con. It's like we all we're doing is playing games, and we're bringing revenue in the city, and we're not causing problems like other conventions, right? We just want to be nerds and play games.
We're so quiet, literally.
Yeah,
like actually, that's a funny story. So we were staying at the Bob and Isaac and a few, most of our volunteer force was staying at the Holiday Inn Express, and it was a half mile away. Not that that's relevant. I just decided to say that. So there was this lobby, pretty nice lobby with quite a few tables to play in. So we're playing the first night, and security comes to kick us out at 11. We're like, whoa, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're going to be up till like 3 a.m. So this is a problem.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we're closing this area. You got to go. And we're like, do you have a conference room? Is there somewhere else we can go to? And they're like, no, we can't let you in the conference room. Like you can't do the XYZ. And we're like, okay, so we just go back. We go back to one of the rooms and we kind of just piece together a table and stuff and we play. And it was about 1:45 in the morning and the power went out.
Oh no!
so we're standing there, literally playing No Thanks. Great little game, by the way, if you haven't played it. And this power goes out, and we're kind of just like looking around, like, what do we do? We're on the 16th floor, and the power just went out. So I'm not quite sure. So we just wait. I just went to bed. I was like, you know what? If I die, I die.
Because the power is out.
I don't know. No, it was creepy in the hallway though. Like no power, just emergency lights and stuff. So we're like, this is how Walking Dead starts, and we're just like all like just joking around and whatever.
So dramatic.
But anyways, this is a very dramatic. But this is all leading to the next morning. We talk to the manager, and we're like, hey, we're board gamers. We're here for a really big convention. We'd love to be able to stay in your lobby past midnight, or even past 11 o'clock when you guys typically close. Could you do that for us? And we're just like, look, we're going to be really quiet. we're going to put everything back the way it was. We just want to be nerds. We want to sit here and push our little cubes and play our cards and stuff. And they're like, yeah. We can let security know, and that'd be okay. And they're like, we can let you stay till 2 a.m. And then we'd want you to go back to your room. We're like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. So we do that, and the security guard comes down, and he wasn't told about this plan. And we're like, hey, we talked to the manager, and so he's asking us what's the manager's name, all this stuff. So, and he's doing a good job. I mean, the dude was doing his diligence, and he was doing the right thing. And then he was like, okay, cool, this is good. I'll talk to him in the morning. And then from there on out, the rest of the show, we just stayed down there until 2:00 in the morning and gamed.
Nice.
It was just kind of just we've never, but at Gen Con, long story short here is at Gen Con, that would never happen. You would never have an issue with finding space and playing till 4:00 in the morning if you want to.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think everyone plays till 4:00 in the morning, Derek. I think that's
listen,
a smaller percentage.
That's true.
Some people need sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably need sleep too, but I want to play games.
But you don't care. No, he just comes home and he's like, give me the baby, and then he's on the chair passed out. Which is fine, because then I didn't have to hold the baby. I was free finally.
It's nice to have the option, though. If you decide to stay up late, now you know.
Granted, I did go to bed early a couple nights, I should say air quotes early, because I was like, yo, I'm tapped out. I'm so tired from the other day. But anyways, yeah.
On the Toppers, brought to you by Game Toppers LLC. Game Toppers are a portable gaming top that converts your existing table into a high-quality yet affordable gaming solution.
So let's get into the games we played, right? PAX Unplugged games, and people we played them with. So what? I guess let's lead off with. I want Lizzy. Of the games we played from PAX Unplugged, or even the games that I brought home, what are you most excited about? What did you enjoy the most?
I am really excited for the Joan of Arc roll and write, because I love a roll and write. I love Orleans. I'm excited to try it. We have not gotten a chance to yet. But of the games we played, I really, really liked all of them. There's not really one that I'm it was fine. I loved them all. They're very different, so I don't feel like I can Boop is very abstract. It's super cute theme, and then the fruit or veggie stock market is fast card game, And then we played the Great Split. Yes, and that is just. It's shocking how good it was. The premise is so interesting. It's just you're splitting cards and then you move little cubes, but it's fantastic. We streamed it today and I loved it. So
that's so awesome.
So far it was 10 out of 10 for all of them.
Oh, that's great.
I was curious what you thought of them. I've enjoyed all of them too. So I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah, I'm dying to play the Great Split. I remember we were talking about it at the show, Derek, and I was like, I got it. And I tried to make it up to, game with you guys, but I got stuck into something else. And it's I've heard other people talk about it since, and every single person is raving about that game. That's a huge hit so far.
I did find out that it will be coming to the U.S. in January from Flat River Group. They may not be the publisher, but Colin and them are bringing it over with from Horrible Guild. So it'll be available, which is great because it needs to be available because it's going to be a game that sells very well. And if you're like, oh, I have no idea what this game's about, and you want to know more, it's essentially a strategic game for 2 to 7 players. So playing up to 7 players is difficult to find in a strategy game. You got 7 Wonders and Ethnos plays at 6 and stuff. But Great Split is an I Split You Choose game. And like Lizzy said, you're gaining resources and moving up tracks, and the person has most victory points wins. It's nice. But it's all about reading your opponent and figuring out what the best split is and what they need. And it's just really, really, really good.
Nice.
What about, so for you, Ruel, what was kind of a show favorite, or a memorable game that you played?
the one that jumps right to the top of the list. I mean, I got to demo a bunch of stuff, and the demo I had of Wild Gardens from Rose Gauntlet, a game by Isaac Vega and Lindsay Road. That one's, I think they're going to crowdfund that early next year, but they had, an early production copy. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I love this game. I mean, I love Isaac and Lindsay. I love what they're doing, but it's a game about food. So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, you got my interest now. And so you're foraging for food, and it's really neat because the action selections that you're doing as you go in the game, you take an action, gather resources, convert those resources to food, and try to serve the customers the food that they want. But the actions are going to develop throughout the game. So you have your basic actions, and depending on where you go, you're going to upgrade certain actions, and that's going to develop throughout the game. I mean, the art is wonderful. Have you seen their game, Keystone North America? The art is just very vibrant, and just, I love what they're doing. And that one really stood out to me. Isaac gave me the demo, and me and the other people at the booth were all fired up already. It's like, oh, this is going to be good. So I can't wait for that. The other one as well, it was a big hit at the show. You guys got a copy. I got a copy of Boop from Scott Brady.
So cute.
Yeah, I remember. I think I don't know if we saw it at Gen Con. I think they had an early prototype or something. And then he described the game to me. Okay, this sounds fun. But to actually see it and see the little quilt, I love the quilt that you put the cats on. It's adorable. And they sold out already. And I think I don't know if he had mentioned they already have a deal with Barnes and Noble to get it in the stores and stuff.
Yes,
so
it needs to be in there.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good seller.
It's the kind that someone's going to see on the shelf and be like, oh, yes, I don't even care. I need this.
Literally based on the name alone, right?
Exactly.
But my brother and sister-in-law, they had 3 cats. I told them about it. They're like, yes, where can I get it? Give it to me now.
Now, here's a little inside scoop. This is funny. So I don't know if Scott, well, I'm gonna lay it out anyways. But Scott, when I was talking to him, he's actually not really a cat person. He's more of a dog person. So, but the cats work thematically and stuff. And there is, and here's the other thing. I want to drop this, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this. But there was another version of this game that may or may not be happening sooner rather than later. But I'm going to tease that out. We're going to talk about it offline. I don't want to do it here because he told me about it and he wasn't really sure what he should be saying. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So that's going to be everyone. That's hey, maybe come back to the next. Yeah, maybe come to the next episode of Board Game Spotlight and we'll have the full scoop for you.
Yeah, we'll have the details, right? The juicy details. That sounds awesome. Yeah, Boop was a huge hit. That really surprised me. Just with how thinky the game was, but also how fun it was too.
Yes.
But I'd heard so many people talking about it and talking about how good it was. So I was like, yeah, I got to grab one of these. In fact, I grabbed one of, I think it was the last copy on Sunday. They're like, yep. And they had put the sign up, we're gone. So I was like, yeah, I got to grab it.
That FOMO, right?
It is the FOMO. It really was. I also knew, listen, 2-player game. We could get it on the channel very easily. I was like, and Lizzie's going to like this one. So
just all that rationalizing. I love it.
Oh yeah. I was going through, I was like, okay, so here's the problem. Here's the solution. How do I get to, I can buy this game to Lizzie's don't come back with more games. I'm like, okay, well, it's got cats, 2-player,
but the thing
abstract.
is, he bought it and then he was like, okay, I need to justify this.
So I'm like, okay, and then you get to the solution, right? We're good. For me, the game that stood out the most, so this is actually going to be surprising for most people, or at least the people that my friend group, if they're listening to this, which they're probably not because they're my friends. It would be a game coming from Lucky Duck, and it is called the Malia. It is.
Yes.
It is. I was literally blown away. I told Brie I was going to steal her copy of the game. I was like, of all the games that I got to play at PAX Unplugged, for at least demos for things that were not available at the time, this was the best of them all. It's a Cascadia with grid system card placement. So think like Lizzy on Fall of the Mountain King, where you have to place your cards over things to create chains. And you're doing that and you're creating a 6x6 grid and you're trying to fulfill for 4 different objectives, but the objectives are like they are in cartographers. So the first round is this, then rounds 1 and 2, then 3 and 4. Oh my gosh. When I tell you the game is small, think size of Skull or smaller. And it was incredible. I was like, I need this right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's
and
beautiful.
so
And it's animals.
Yeah.
It's animals. It's like a zoo. You're building like it's not even a zoo. It's just like wild. It's just like wildlands. Like you got gorillas in a jungle and penguins in the Arctic and gazelles or lions in the savannas and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Actually,
you're right. It's excellent.
Did you get a chance to play that?
I did.
Penguins are in the
ran me
Antarctic.
through the game. Oh, so good.
What'd you say, Lizzy?
I think penguins are in the Antarctic, aren't they?
Whatever they were. The penguins were on snow.
Penguins are in the South Pole, and polar bears are in the North Pole, right?
I think so. I think that's right.
I think so. I think you're right.
So Nomalia, so it's 2 to 4 players, plays in like 25, 30 minutes. And it's just, it's
going to be a hit. And, I'm glad
for
you brought
the people
up the
who are watching
cartographers
this on YouTube.
Yeah, so good.
I can even show
right
you.
there. Yes.
You can kind of see how you place the cards out. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm sorry, you'll have to go find it on YouTube. I mean, you'll see Lizzy and I posting about this pretty soon whenever it comes to availability. But that one shocked me the most, mostly because it just came out of nowhere. Like there were a lot of games like the Great Split I loved. The Joan of Arc Draw and Write was fantastic. I played a ton of great games, but like this one, I was like, why have I not heard of this? Like, where did this come from?
Because it's not out yet.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I had no idea about it either. And Bree said, I want to show you this. I was like, okay, cool. And like the second she said Cascadia cartographers, I was like, okay, let's zero in on this. And that cartographer style scoring was really neat. I think that's, you have like, she showed us the demo, just a couple of cards, but there's a bunch of cards in there and just the way that they're going to be used, to score differently each round. Oh,
they're double-sided objectives too. So there's a ton of variety in the base game, which is awesome.
Yeah. Great call.
Did you get a chance to look at my shelfie that they had from Phil Walker Harding?
Oh, you know what? Phil Walker Harding, I love. He's one of my favorite designers.
He's so good.
I've actually been playing my shelfie on BGA. It's on BGA, and I've played a couple of games. It's gamers. It's a gamer Connect 4. It's so fun, right? I didn't actually see the physical copy. Did they have
They had they did. They had one that they were showing, but I don't know if it was prototype or if it was out. I don't know if did it release at SN? I don't know the situation there.
Me neither.
But I did get to see it, and I just loved because, like, you're right. You get a Connect 4 board, and you're dropping the pieces in, and you're building a shelf with cats and things and stuff inside of it.
Games,
so good, so good. I love that games are kind of getting outside they're thinking outside the box, but also like going back to like things we as kids, like, oh yeah, I played Connect 4. Well, we're going to reuse that component and we're going to put it in a game. Right. Yeah. And Fairy Tile Inn did that with CMON. And that's a really good game too. If you've not played Fairy Tile Inn from CMON, they did the same thing. I think that came out last year.
I think it's older than that.
Or 2 years ago. Yeah. I think it came out during the pandemic. So. Yeah.
One other game that I was excited about was a game from AEG by Josh Wood called Let's Go to Japan. Josh Wood, I'm a fan. He's the one that made Santa Monica, and he's also he does a lot of development for AEG, so he's had his hands in a lot of their games. And this one, he had planned on going to Japan, but the pandemic hit. So he decided, hey, I'm stuck home. I'm going to make a game about Let's Go to Japan. And, he eventually did go to Japan after a couple of years and did research, but this game looks fantastic. It's a tableau builder. And, I just love his designs. They're always such clean, smart designs. And this is going to be another hit, I think. Just everything from AEG these days. And we talked about it before. They're just on such a roll and I love it. And so anything that comes in from them, I'm immediately, taking an interest in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're on my pretty much like always playlist as far as games coming. Lizzy, I think you feel the same way. Like AEG seems to always
They do like the quirky, weird themes that are just fantastic. Whirling Witchcraft from last year is still like one of my favorites. I just adore that game. So
love it.
Santa Monica, that's like you have to have been to Santa Monica to really understand like how immersive it is. But even if you haven't, it's such a fun game. But it's such an odd theme. Like why would you think of this one
it's just a quirky
specific
theme.
Beach, like, like there's beach games, but it's not a beach game. It's Santa Monica, which is it's so different. Like it's not a beach, it's Santa Monica.
I think
That's
it's
so
really
true.
cool though that we live in an age where you can just be like, yeah, I want to make this specific game, and as long as it's good and it works, like, yeah, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of just free creative freedom for a lot of cool
Games have
stuff.
really come a long way. I think we're branching out more. I mean, because I feel like it used to be a lot nerdier, like much more specific to like nerdy culture. And now we're branching out, like with Wingspan and with Santa Monica. And like there's much more accessible, I guess, themes for people who aren't nerdy, but like they're like, we can do a game that doesn't, because not everyone likes sci-fi, and that's fine. Not everyone has to, but like people like bird watching and they can play Wingspan, or like they're from the Santa Monica and it's nostalgic for them because like they grew up there or something. It's much more approachable for them.
Well, number one, when you say not everybody has to like sci-fi, if you don't like Star Wars, we got a problem. So I'm sorry, we're gonna have a problem. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. But no, I totally get it. I think. No, I was gonna say to Lizzy's point though. I think that's you nailed it, because it's hard to go from 0 to 100, right? Like, to just dive in and play like something what most would consider very nerdy, like what you talked about. But you can kind of gradually get them interested. Like you start with Boop, then maybe you throw them at Azul, and then you throw them a couple small filler card games, and then before you know it, they're playing Twilight Imperium, and you're like, where did this come from? And we're like, see?
Yeah, it's so true though. Like all the different themes that are available, it's not your standard. Hey, not every game needs to be, pushing cubes in the Mediterranean, doing trading and all that other stuff. We have all these different themes. Boop is a perfect one. That is going to get more people to the table just because the theme is so cute and it's easy to pick up. And, that's what we want. We want more people to, game, because that gives us a chance to, hey, I can game with more people. That means we're going to play more games. And that's always a good thing. Boop is a perfect example. This game, Let's Go to Japan, it takes the theme of, it was Tokaido, where you're trying to have like a nice vacation in Japan. It takes that, but it's more gamery, So again, start with Tokaido. This is more of a gateway game, but then hit them with Let's Go to Japan next. It's like, okay, now we can start playing with card tableaus and drafting and all this other cool stuff. Yeah,
I and I've even had conversations like most people. Like with any hobby, when you see something that looks intimidating, they're just like, whoa. But like when you get people at a table and you teach them a game, they're like, wow, it is very rare that I get somebody to play a game and be like, oh, that was terrible. I don't ever want to play games again. Like that is a very rare experience, in my opinion. Like most people are like, yeah, that was pretty fun. Like, let's play again. Or what else do you got? That type of thing. But like,
I also feel like with the themes, we can talk to someone, and we have such an expansive library. We can like figure out what they're going to like. And so we have a game that's going to fit them. It's not like they come into the house and we're like, hey, this is the game you have to play no matter what,
Yeah.
Like we're able to find something that like we know is probably going to fit with them. Either they like the theme or like they like the mechanics or something,
Yeah, it's like, come into the house and just pull off Gaia Project, sit down. We're going to play 2 hours of Gaia Project together. Don't worry about how to play it because I can't even explain it, but we're going to get it,
First, we're going to watch this 30-minute video on how to play the game, and then we're going to spend another 2 hours playing it.
No falling asleep.
That's one of the things that I appreciate to go back to shows, conventions, is finding people that know how to play games already and then having them teach you the game. That is such an awesome thing to be able to do, to be like, hey, among the group of friends that I have or the people that I know at the show, does anybody know how to play XYZ? They're like, yeah. And then you also can teach them games. It's just awesome to not have to slog through a rule book. Not that now, don't get me wrong. I actually like reading rule books. I enjoy it, but it is nice to just sit there and be like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
Yes.
This is what you're going to do. Here's a rule book if you'd like to just look through it to see about things. But
yeah, that is so true. I really think it just seems to me that the majority of people that go to conventions, we're all hardcore gamers. We're really going to be the majority of people who are in their game group at home. We're the ones teaching the games anyways, because, we're the ones that really love the hobby. So we're going to do the majority of learning and then teaching the games. So then all of us go to the conventions like, oh, great. Everyone knows how to play games. We don't have to, we all don't have to read all the rules. Like we have other people. I love that about conventions. It's so easy to get into games,
It is. It really is. It's awesome. I love one of my favorite things to do, and I've mentioned this in the past at PAX Unplugged. Well, at shows where I work, booths, it's a little bit harder to do when I go to like chiller shows like a Dice Tower or a Geekway or even something like Tantrum Con. I love to just walk and see what people are playing. I love to just like see like what are you taking out of the library, because I'm just really interested, because I'm always focused on new hotness or even future. Like look at, Ruel, we're playing games that aren't even made yet, right? On Kickstarter.
That's right.
So it's really cool to like walk around and be like, oh, look, they've pulled out Zolkin, or they're playing Energy Empire, or they, it's just so cool to see that. And then I also it depends on what the game is. I'll be honest. I do kind of look before, but they'll have like Teacher Wanted. If the game is short enough, I'll just sit down and just teach it to them. Like if something's like, oh, I don't know how to play Azul, or I'm trying to learn, I don't know. I did it recently for a game for Cascadia at PAX Unplugged. They're like, hey, we don't know how to play this. They had like, and I was just like sat down, taught them in like, less than 10 minutes, and they were off. I was like, look, if I miss anything or if something doesn't make sense, look at the rule book, but at least like you can see what's happening here,
like a
right?
starting point and a good solid point to start from.
But I really like to do that. I think that's fun.
I agree. I did that a lot. Actually, I do. I sort of do that at conventions too, where I'll just walk, the open play areas and see whatever's playing. And what's cool, Derek? And, we do tend, because of what we do tend to look for that, the hotness and also the games that aren't even released yet. But one thing I loved about PAXU, and this blew me away, was right next to the Wise Wizard booth, tables and tables of crokinole tables. It was all the crokinole zone. And I love the fact that there were dozens of these things. And this is a 150-year-old game, folks. And this is the greatest dexterity game of all time. And people were just playing the entire convention. And actually, one of the very first game I taught at PAXU was crokinole. There was a couple there. And they said, hey, is this crokinole? I was like, yeah, have you ever played? They said, no. I was like, okay, sit down. I'm going to show you how to play it in 5 minutes. And, they were off and running too. So, yeah, the latest hotness there. But I love the fact that there is a game that's over 150 years old at multiple tables.
Crokinole is a game that I do not have yet. Our friend AJ, who lives within an hour or so, has one. So he's brought it over before. But as Seb gets older, and it's a really fun game, we'll get a crokinole table at some point. Just because it's so easy. That's another one where you've never played a board game in your life. Sit down. I'll teach you how to play this. Now, granted, dexterity can be a little tricky because not everybody's really good with hand-eye coordination. But it's just kind of getting them into that. Like, okay, I'm going to flick some stuff, and we're kind of just going to hang out.
Tumbling dice is another one that you can just put on the table. And like you can figure that out without even someone explaining it to you. Because it's like, oh, there's just the numbers on there. You throw the dice. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, that game is so good. That was my favorite dexterity game until I discovered Crokinole. That Crokinole is like one. That might be like number 2 or maybe even 1A, because tumbling dice is a blast.
It is. I remember the first time we played that, Lizzy, it was at Origins, I think, a few years ago, right?
Yeah,
we went to that party,
like
the Pledge Manager party.
Nice.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah,
there's so many people. We were doing like round robin, like, okay, you go, then cool. I'm going to go. We're going to like,
love it.
Yeah,
when you get your crokinole board eventually, that's it's like an heirloom thing, that's going to pass down from you to your children, to their children, because it's one of those pieces that it will always be around, and it's
I've
beautiful.
seen people also like kind of like find ways to mount them on the walls too, to like kind of get them out of the way, which I think is really cool. So there's just a lot of really neat opportunities. I think Mayday had made some really nice crokinole tables recently.
They did. That was the first one I ever got. Was they do a Kickstarter every couple of years, maybe once every other year, where they sell crokinole boards for $99, which, folks, that is extremely cheap. Now, it's not like the quality of ones you get from Canada. The wood is different, but it's a perfectly fine board. I had that for like a couple of months, and I ended up gifting it to my nephew because I ended up getting another crokinole board from Canada. I just you went from
like like a Ford to like a Maserati or a Mercedes.
Much,
I know. Me and Ruel, we're the same. We need that extra. I could have this, but look at this one. Like it reminds me of like that scene in American Psycho where they're talking about their business cards. Like, oh look at the sheen of like the crocodile board. Like look at the wood engraving. And then I could just imagine like a funny video about that.
Somehow we went from Crocodile to American Psycho, and I love
it. But it makes sense.
So it totally makes sense. There is an American Psycho trick-taking game coming out from Renegade, and it sounds awesome. I'll be completely honest. Yes.
Okay, I need to play it.
So yes, it's American Psycho trick-taking game. I saw one of like first production copies at Gen Con just in passing, and so obviously I was like, what's that? Like, I'm curious. So then they're like talking about it, and I got to see the back of the box, and I'm going to pull it up on Board Game Geek because I just want to like, I was super intrigued with how this works. So
is Christian Bale on like the cover or something? Because I would buy that.
Oh, absolutely. Look,
wow.
I'm going to show it to you right here. Look at this.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, it's like for real. Like the name of the game is called American Psycho: A Killer Game.
Perfect.
So it's trick taking, right? And it plays 2 to 5 players. So I'm very interested in 2-player trick taking games. But basically, so in game terms, what's going to happen is you're going to lead meetings where players contribute cards. So you're playing a card in, usually of a matching suit. Then the highest played card wins, but each meeting will have a killer suit that beats the leading suit. So a scene card drawn for each meeting is going to further add rules to the the hand of cards, forcing players to basically have to figure out like there's going to be different rules that are for each round. And essentially what happens is bodies are going to be worth negative points unless you happen to have collected the most, in which case they can help you win. And then like when you win, and there it doesn't really talk about it, but I'm trying to remember the conversation I had with Scott, Gata, and Dan. Essentially, it was like you're going to play a card, and then the other people, you're also doing set collection. So all of the different suits have a different set collection criteria. So like you want to have like all of this or one of like it sounded really, really interesting. So I can't wait to play it, but I'm also curious like how many people are going to be put off by the theme because the game sounds great.
Well, they're obviously making it for fans of American Psycho. If you're not a fan of that, you're not going to pick that game up.
Yeah.
Unless you're
if
like
it's a
really
great
into trick taking, but like,
but if it's a great game,
no, I know, I agree, but like American Psycho is pretty, like
it's fine. It's fine.
It's not very family friendly. Let's just say that. Like, it's going to be a very divisive theme.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like if it does take off. Like, I mean, it does sound really cool, but if it does take off, do they retheme it for like a more family friendly? Like, hey, instead of American Cycle, here's Boop, the trick taking game or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but it sounds super interesting.
I want to try it.
Like
that
not everything
great.
has to be like family friendly,
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Oh, totally.
True.
Yeah. I mean, there's a theme out there for most people. There's a game for everybody somewhere. I mean, we play Monopoly Gamer with Seb all the time. He loves to play that.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, there's just, there's fun stuff.
I got an email. There's like a Squishmallow Monopoly.
Yes.
A Squishmallow Monopoly.
Squishmallows.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I get another one, Britney Spears Monopoly. So like
That
there's a
one just came out,
Monopoly
that's
for
right.
everyone
Now,
too.
the Squishmallow, I would collect that probably. We love our Squishmallows. We've got a bunch of those.
Yep, quite a few.
Well, this has, devolved into just like rabbit trails of epic proportions.
But we're still talking about games, so it counts.
Absolutely. No, I don't have any issue with it. I don't have anything else to add about PAX Unplugged. Is there anything that you want to say, Ruel? I mean, I guess I'll just end with, for me anyways, the people. It was awesome to see everybody again, to see you, of course. I got to see Shu from Going Analog, Grant Lyon, Roberto Lopez, Danny Standring, just so many awesome people in the industry that I've been able to create relationships with and hang out and play games. There's so many different people that I could mention, and I try to mention as many as I can, but if you had a chance to play a game with me or the group, or you came and talked to me, I just want to say thank you, because that means a lot that you would take time out of your time, because we know how busy conventions are, to do that. So I just want to end on that for me.
Yeah, that's great. I'll echo that as well, Derek. There's a lot of people. I was very grateful that a lot of people from my Discord community, we all met up and we played games together at different times. They also, a bunch of them came to Wise Wizard booth and we got to play Star Realms and Hero Realms, which is great. Actually, one of my Discord members always made sure I had a meal buddy. Because she knew my schedule was wacky and stuff. But anytime I would have a break, she's, "Hey, you want to grab a meal?" I was like, I was really grateful for that because. Oh, I mean, I don't mind eating by myself, but it's always nice to have, a buddy. And I was able to do some cool events with different companies, again, Wise Wizard, and I was so grateful for the opportunity to get out there. I had a wonderful time. I would definitely want to go back. It's such a great convention, such a great city, so many cool people. I also met up with a lot of fellow content creators. I don't want to leave anyone off the list because I talked to and met up with so many. The one I do want to mention is or actually two. So I got to see Jazz Cruz again from Lobby Hobbies.
I love Jazz.
He's such a good guy. And one of these days, and I actually talked to you, Derek, as well. One of these days where you have to play some baseball highlights because we're all baseball fans. And again, we understand conventions. It's always busy and stuff. And so Jazz got to hang out with him again, just to hang out is great. And also Amanda McKnight. She does stuff with Renegade. She hosts her YouTube channel. I got to meet her in person for the first time. We've actually worked together online a few times, but we've got a project coming up next year we're really excited about. So just to be able to meet and start working on that together meant a lot. So many people, so little time. You know how it is, Derek and Lizzy. And, I can't wait for the next one. Honestly, I really can't wait. It's so exciting.
And I totally like leaving PAX Unplugged, just exhausted and tired in the best ways, right?
Yes.
Excited to be home with family and stuff, but also like thinking in the back of my mind, like, I can't wait for the next one, right? Like what's next? Yeah. It's probably going to be Origins for most people. Lizzy and I are going to go to Tantrum Con in February. That's in North Carolina. That's a great show. Great show.
I love it, yeah.
So we'll be there. And then after that, it'll be touch and go. I mean, you've got Origins and then Geekway and a bunch of other stuff happening. So I guess PAX East as well for me in March. So
cool.
That's going to be great. But yeah, I just want to say thanks again for all of our listeners, all the followers, and everybody that is here to support both the Board Game Spotlight and you, Ruel, and everything that you're doing. Lizzy, anything from you?
No, I didn't even go to the show. I was home with a kid, Derek is like the contact at the school, and one of her kid threw up one day, so they had to call him, and then he had to call me, and then I had to go get him. He was fine. I don't even know what happened, but like that's what I was doing while you guys were all gaming. I was keeping my 5-year-old away from my infant. Like, don't get near the baby.
And you
Lizzy's
did
doing
incredible.
The real life stuff.
You are doing the real work. You are the real MVP.
Seriously,
for everything you did, for sure.
I do want to mention one thing. We've gotten through this entire episode without talking about Andor. I think that's incredible because just to real quickly,
ruined it now though.
I totally ruined it. But here's the thing: I had not watched it yet, but I used the time on my flight to Philadelphia and the flight back to binge it, folks. One of the greatest shows ever, and I was blown away. It was so good. If you haven't seen it and you're a Star Wars fan, you must see it. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think you would enjoy it because there's a lot of stuff that they talk about that you don't need to know about Star Wars. They're talking like real life stuff, real life themes.
Oh yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. I was so blown away by it.
It was everything I wanted it to be and more. It was just an awesome ride from start to finish. Slow burn, drama, action, like just. The fact they took time to build characters, and it just was like, I agree. To me,
so
that's top 5 material for Star Wars.
Of course.
I mean, it's just, I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I hope they do more. Like, please do more of that.
It's supposed to be 2 seasons. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I can't wait.
Not just an Andor, but like other shows, right? And we're seeing that with Mandalorian
style, kind of.
and that style. Like, there were just, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's, and this isn't a spoiler. So I'm going to talk about it real quick. There's one scene in one of the episodes I just found hilarious was when they're walking through the bureau. What's it called? I can't remember. It's like I something. and it's just rows and rows and rows of cubicles.
Little pods.
It's just little pods, and I'm like, this is so real. This is like, look at all the cubicles and all the people just slaving away, and you know, oh man, so crazy. But anyways, thanks again for everybody. And you're right, Andor was awesome. So we got it in the episode. We talked
did,
about
yes. it. My job is done here, folks.
Yep, check the blog. Well, anyways, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We are excited to get back to podcasting and get back to chatting about games, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. I'm Derek.
I'm Lizzy.
And I'm Ruel.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
And that's it for this week's podcast. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors and our wonderful Patreon supporters. We'll see you next time on the Board Game Spotlight Podcast.